Hello, the purpose of this video is not to replace the actual lecture, but just to show you a few examples if you missed the class. So let's start with distance between points C and E. So C and E, if you think about this, you can just count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the distance between point C and E is equal to 5 units. But again, how do you do this if you have longer distances? So you can always think about distance as absolute value between, if this is x1 and x2, so distance is the difference x2 minus x1, and it's absolute value because distance is always positive. Okay, if you think about absolute value definition, is the distance from the center, from 0. Okay, so take a minute and think about example distance EF, BF, and AB. So EF will be 7 minus 4, which is positive 3, and absolute value of positive 3 is 3. BF, that will be 7 minus negative 4, which is 7 plus 4, which is equal to 11. And AB, that will be negative 4 minus negative 9. Negative 4 minus negative 9 is negative 4 plus 9, which is 5. Okay, so in general, the formula for the distance between 2 points on a number line would be x sub 2 minus x sub 1. Or you could also say x sub 1 minus x sub 2. It doesn't matter because if you do the calculations, you would end up with the same answer. So now let's talk about the midpoint of a segment. Again, here I'm not explaining, I'm not deriving the formula. In our classroom I will do that, or I actually did that, but here I'm just trying to show you what to do in case if you miss the class. So midpoint is center, midpoint is the average. In other words, if you think about midterm, we typically give midterms in January because it's the middle of the year. So midterm, the midpoint is the average of the x coordinates, so it'll be x sub 1 plus x sub 2 divided by 2, comma y sub 1 plus y sub 2 divided by 2. That's the formula for midpoint. So now let's look at this problem. B is the midpoint of segment AC. When we say that B is the midpoint of segment AC, it means that B is exactly in the middle. Okay, so this means that segment AC is congruent to segment BC. Remember the tick marks, okay? So this means that segment AB is congruent to segment BC. Okay, so in other words, if segment AB is 7, if segment AB 7 inches long, BC will be also 7 inches long. In other words, segment AC will be 14 inches long. Okay, so if B is the midpoint of segment AC, it means that segment AB is congruent to segment AC. Okay, let's take a look at one example. So example number 1 is extremely important, and I want to make sure that you understand it. So what are the coordinates of the midpoint of segment AB if A is at negative 3, 7 and B is at 6 comma 19. It's always beneficial to draw a sketch. Okay, negative 3, 7 will be somewhere here. And 619 would be somewhere here. As you can see, the midpoint we somewhere in our first quadrant. Okay, so midpoint by definition is x sub 1 plus x sub 2 divided by 2, comma y sub 1 plus y sub 2 divided by 2. So let's substitute. Negative 3 plus 6 divided by 2, comma 7 plus 19 divided by 2. So if you do calculations, negative 3 plus 6 is 3. 3 divided by 2 is 3 halves. So the midpoints will be 3 halves, comma 7 plus 19 is 26, divided by 2 is 13. Okay, so the midpoint will be 3 halves, comma 13, which is a little bit off my scale, but it makes sense. Okay, so the midpoint is 1 and 5/10, comma 13. Now let's look at the second example. O is the midpoint of segment DG. Okay, so if O is the midpoint, it means that segment DO is congruent to segment OG. Okay, DO is congruent to segment OG. So let's substitute. So instead of segment DO, I can replace 4x minus 4 is equal to segment OG is 2x plus 6. Now arithmetic, algebra, 2x minus 2x minus 2x, so 2x plus 4 equals 10, so x is equal to 5. Now the question was, how long is the segment DG? So if x is 5, 2 times 5 is 10, plus 6 is 16, so this is 16, and because O is the midpoint, that's also segment DG will be also 16 units long. Okay, so DG is equal to 16 units. Now, the second example is more challenging because in example number 3, we are telling you that M is the midpoint of segment AC with A coordinate negative 2 comma 10, and the question is find the coordinates of point C. So in this case, it's a little bit different. Let's sketch this. Okay, so M4 comma 7, that will be somewhere here. A is negative 210. Okay, and the question is find the coordinates of C. So that means that if M is the midpoint, C has to be somewhere here. So think about M is the midpoint, so M is the average. And how do you think average? You add two numbers and then divide by 2. Okay, so you can do x plus negative 2 divided by 2 is equal to 4. Now if you do arithmetic, multiply by 2, so you get x minus 2 equals 8. I'm going to cross this out. X equals 10. Now think about how would you set up the equation to find the value of y. And again, think about the average. The average of two numbers is equal to 7. In other words, what number plus 10 divided by 2 is equal to 7? So you would do y plus 10 divided by 2 is equal to 7. Okay? If you do just follow algebraic steps, multiply by 2, you get y plus 10 equals 14, minus 10 minus 10, y equals 4. So, the location of point C would be 10, 4. Okay? And we'll have to do with distance. Okay? So I will explain question with the distance between C and D. Okay, and the distance formula is square root of x sub 2 minus x sub 1 to the second power plus y sub 2 minus y sub 1 to the second power, and in algebra this is x1 y1 x2 y2. So let's substitute the numbers. Again, in class I have longer explanation why the formula works. So I will do 4 minus 2 to the second power, 7 minus 3 to the second power. 4 minus 2 is 2, 2 to the second is 4, 7 minus 3 is 4, 4 plus 4 minus 3 is 4 to the second is equal to 16. Okay, so if you simplify this, it will be square root of 20. Okay, and we didn't talk about radicals, but the answer would be 4 times 5, which would be 2 radical 5. If you write square root of 20 is equal to 4.5 approximately, we'll also give you credit. Okay, so that's how you apply distance formula. Again, in our class I will explain this and I will have examples using graph paper, but the purpose of this video is to show you how to apply distance formula when you do your homework. Thank you.